I want to explore the power of economics a bit more. John Maynard Keynes had described economics as turning some dials, pulling some levers to manage an economy. You've described it in the past as putting some drops in a test tube and watching magic happen. So maybe this would be an express version of it, maybe the Cliff's Notes, but I definitely want to explore the magic of economics. Let's say I'm the president of a developing country and this country is in hyperinflation. What dials can you turn? What levers can you pull? What are the different steps that you can take to solve this problem, hyperinflation? I think it would be helpful if you can pull back the curtain and show me how the magic happens.
So I think just to say, first of all, that when I started the formal study of economics, which was 53 years ago, I fell in love with John Maynard Keynes' approach to economics. And it was precisely the idea that, whoa, you have this complicated system of all the businesses and the consumers and government, and you can turn some dials to keep or pull some levers, as you said, to keep things in order. Well, that is part of the idea of Keynesian macroeconomics to stabilize an economy. Many problems don't work at all like that, I have to
Right.
say, right at the beginning. They have almost nothing to do with dials and levers, but certain things do. And I'll give one example that for me was rather exhilarating. I was involved in my first foray in practical policy making in ending a hyperinflation. Now, what is a hyperinflation? A hyperinflation means the prices are rising at a staggering pace. And specifically, it's been defined in the technical literature as increases of prices by 50% or more per month. And if that happens over a year, you're basically at about 12,000% increases of prices. I was asked to help a country, Bolivia, in the middle of South America, in 1985, which had had a 24,000% rise in prices in the 12 months preceding my arrival, which was in July 1985. It turns out that hyperinflation, as many people know, is too much money chasing too few goods. So the money is losing its value. The reason that the money is increasing in supply is that the government is essentially printing it to cover the budget deficit. And so most hyperinflations result from a government fiscal crisis, a budget crisis. So you have to address the budget crisis in some way in order to stop the reliance on the printing press for money in order to stop the hyperinflation. And that was the first foray that I had. And I made some recommendations, and other economists that were there in Bolivia were working on this, and the hyperinflation stopped. But a few weeks later, actually, it was probably, it was August, September, October, November, December, about 5 months later, as often happens when you turn the dials at the beginning, things don't quite stick, and there's real politics behind the deficits and tensions and other things happen and mistakes. And the government made some mistakes, and the prices started to rise again, and the value of the Bolivian peso started to fall. And that means when currency falls that you pay more to buy dollars, so more Bolivian pesos per dollar. And that means that in peso terms, all the things you buy with dollars, all your imports immediately go up in price. And so the inflation was starting again in January 1986. And there were some fundamental things to do, but one specific thing to do was to bring this weakened currency back to a value that would provide a kind of stability for the price level. And to do that, I said to the government, sell some of your dollars in the central bank to buy pesos, remove the pesos from circulation, and the price level or the exchange rate will strengthen as a result of this. Well, this is the first most basic thing in international monetary economics. So there was no genius in it. It was exactly the first thing you learn. And they agreed to do it, and they did it. And my God, suddenly the exchange rate comes down as it's supposed to, and the prices stabilize, and then the government agrees on the next set of policies, and the whole thing worked. And even though it's pretty basic, whoa, you sat at a desk and you said, do the following technical transaction. And then this society of several million people suddenly sees the currency stabilizing. That was amazing to me, by the way. It wasn't economic magic, but it felt like it. It was economic basics. But God, it worked exactly like the book said. And so, you follow the recipe and there's a cake at the end. You follow the recipe and the currency strengthened. And I must say that was one of the most striking moments of my life, that it just worked like it's supposed to work. And I've had a few of those in my career where you get a very short term moment that says, yeah, that's some basic economics actually working in practice. So you remind me, if I could just run on for a moment, that in Poland, completely different circumstances, but also a political crisis, fiscal crisis, high inflation, and shortages because there were price controls. And when you have printing money and price controls, you get a black market where the prices rise, but in the official controlled market, the goods disappear from the shelves. So that was the Polish situation at the end of 1989, beginning of 1990. And I said, in something that was pretty controversial at the time, but worked out, and the price controls, and the goods will come back to the shelves. And in addition, do various things to stop the underlying inflation. So it was a kind of package deal. And I was back in Boston when this drama of ending the price controls was done on January 2nd, I think it was, because I think January 1st, 1990 may have been a weekend, but in any event, it was done at the beginning of 1990. Everyone was terrified. My God, will this be the end of the world? And about 3 days later, my uh, correspondent in Poland said, Jeff, I just went to the store and the goods were there and their price had actually come down, from the morning. And I said, oh my God, supply and demand. It's working. It actually works. You take the price control, the good comes back to the shop. It's phenomenal. And so I've had a few of those experiences in life where the basic economics actually checks out.